Video highlights from Dirt Track Speedway, presented by Fast Chefs by Actual Exchange. They're not just fast, they're first. FastChefs.com. All right, so tonight's Victory Lane conversation, weekly is not your thing. Okay, that's actually last week's conversation. This week's actually conversation is talking about bad racing attitude theologists. Now, like I had mentioned earlier, it had been a very up and down week here at the Doren Sports Bar and Grill, and for a lot of different reasons. Now, I saw a couple of different drivers over the weekend, either on video, in person, and whatnot. They dumped another driver because they didn't like the way they passed him. And then apparently forgot that a couple weeks ago that they overdrove their car and did the same thing and accidentally hit somebody else, but yet they forgot that. Some of that made it to social media. There's also a series of posts that snowballed. I think the intentions were good, but there was talks about shot claims, bad track conditions, rough driving, and then so on and so forth, and they got onto social media. Now, not all bad deals made their way to social media, and I don't think people understand exactly the power that they have when they post something like this on social media. Maybe they do, and they're just wielding it to their advantage to fit their agenda. Well, too bad for you, but bad racing attitude theologists stand up on their pulpit and they'll preach about exactly what is upsetting them at that given moment. They'll jump to social media and anybody who will listen. They say that their goal is to help others who might not realize that there is a problem. Fair, and I understand that, but no good deed goes unpunished. In other words, the idea that beneficial actions often go unappreciated or met with outright hostility. That's kind of the gist of that saying. And I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't help somebody, but I want you to stop for a minute the next time you want to post something where you think you're helping somebody to shed light or politic for something. How would you like it if somebody posted something that you did wrong or they don't feel is right in front of thousands of other people? So instead of a personal conversation, it suddenly becomes a massive humanity jab back and forth. And then all of a sudden, all your supporters are going to jump in and chime in and say, well, hey, this guy's right. Why the heck are you pointing it out? And then all the people that love and support the guy that's pointing it out, or gal if the case may be, and all of a sudden you have a series of people pointing and fighting, and it just becomes a big chaotic mess. I offer one solution, and it's an old school solution, face-to-face. Let me give you an example of how my son and I faced a bad racing attitude theological moment Sunday night as we were leaving the racetrack. So we were parked, and there's only one way onto the road. And for the most part, everyone was doing good. Okay, you go. I'll let you in. And then it was the give and take, one and one and one. Well, there was a particular truck that had a big logo on it for a company, and he was looking right at me and right in the bumper of the person in front of them to make sure he knew, you're not getting him in front of me. I'm like, whatever, douche move, but fine. I can wait a couple of cars. Well, while he was busy trying to make sure I didn't get in, across the 3 lanes of traffic, there was another car trying to get in who didn't want to turn right, wanted to go left, so came in and cut in front of him. Well, he decided that was not the cool move. So he decided to get right on their back bumper, shine their bright lights on him, and then make sure that he was over far enough that their left head beam on the driver's side was pointing in their rearview mirror, and drove all the way, it's about a 3-mile stretch to the highway, and made sure that they knew that he wasn't happy. Now, on the side of that vehicle was a logo, a city, a contact information, and a website. And my son and I were quite appalled at that and thought it was very dangerous. We memorized all 4 of those. And then we thought, well, we should let everybody know about that. But then again, that bad racing attitude theology suddenly becomes you becoming nothing more than a brat. So I thought it might be smarter to contact the business and say, hey, this is what I saw. I didn't appreciate it. And then they can decide whatever they want to do about it. They can process the data, decide whether or not they really even cared what I had to say, or if they did, their decision on what happens next is whether or not I support them as a business later. In fact, I'll probably have more respect for them if they addressed it or came back to me and said, okay, here's the situation. Here's what we saw. I might have more respect that way. Now, mind you, not all the negative stuff shows up on social media. There's a ton of positive things that are non-Brat-like, and I think that there is several other people before this weekend Jessica Miller was brought to light. There's been tons of other people before us. There's still a ton of people that are with us, and tons of people that will suddenly become a part of the, hey, we're going to promote racing, and we're going to promote the good things, and we're going to promote how good this racing community can be. But obviously, because of the situations that took place with Jessica Miller this past week on her way to a race, it becomes on the forefront. It becomes top of everybody's mind. Now, my family has had several bonding moments with the Millers, and it isn't just with racing. Jessica came in and helped a couple of years on a St. Jude Radiothon that I was doing with the radio station that I work for in Waterloo. In fact, came on one year and shared their personal story, which I thought was great. And it gave it kind of a more realistic feel because it was somebody from right here in our area. Also, we spent a year traveling. Both our sons played on the same team, and Andy, Jessica's husband, was actually one of my coaches, the statistician, and the fungo master. Long live that fungo bat of yours, Andy. It'll never be the same, ever shagging flies. Anyway, I won't even begin to try to recreate the same sentiment that Ryan Clark gave before Saturday's racing action at the Independence Motor Speedway. It was very heartfelt, very detailed, as you would expect with Ryan. Well done, my friend. Instead, you always ask why. Well, I don't think there's ever really an answer to why, but there are always things that we should take away from even the most positive or the most horrific of events. Despite brat rants that are out there on social media that brought me down this week, the racing family has continued to show me that, yes, we do care when we want to. Although she was taken from us far too soon, that is what Jessica Miller will be immortalized for, and all the other people that follow in her suit. We can all get along when we want to. Godspeed.